Newton's laws, Darwin writes on nature flaws, Curie, radium, and X-ray beams, Einstein relativity, Watson, Crick, and DNA, black holes, Hawking, math, Copernicus redraws a path. Lauren and PJ do science. She's got a doctorate, he's got a beat in lyrics. Lauren and PJ do science. Yeah, he's a broke musician, and she's gonna teach him. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Shower Guy, and you're listening to Lauren and PJ Do Science. Today, they're going to talk about bioluminescence. Of course, for the second time, because PJ doesn't know how to work audio equipment. But enjoy, and stay cool, and stay clean. Yeah, thank you very much, Shower Guy. I know, I forgot to hit record last time. This is take 2 of this episode. We put a great episode in the can, and I wound up flushing it down the can with my own incompetence. I understand, I get it, I take it, I accept responsibility. Lauren yelled at me. She yelled at me more than when she broke up with me 20 years ago. It was quite the verbal tongue lashing, but really, let's be real here. Lauren broke up with me because she has something called standards. Okay, and I understand and I accept that, and I love her for it. And even though over the years I have questioned those standards from time to time in her choice of partners, you know, we grow, we learn, and I've grown and learned, you know, from my mistakes. So I made sure to hit record. We have backups here now, and yeah, welcome to Lauren and PJ Do Science. And for the record, me and Lauren were never a thing because it would have been like way too weird. We kind of discussed it, and we decided that it would be too much for the world to handle because both of our awesome powers put together would just, right? We just couldn't. So
well, that, and you also
anyway, I've learned.
You also dated my best friend, and that would have been like super awkward. So
Yeah, that would have been a little bit of an awkward stance there too, but I think it's more fun just to tell people that our awesomeness together would have been too much. Because the dating the best friend thing, I mean, everybody's done that, but yeah, just
sure,
it would have
yeah.
been like if Pinky and the Brain, if Pinky was the intelligence level of the brain, they would actually succeed, and that's what would have happened.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I'm going with it, okay? I'm just going with it.
Okay.
Anyway, welcome to Lauren PJ Do Science.
So your
We've got take 2.
Your penance for messing up the recording 2 days ago is now whatever I say, you have to pretend like this is the first time you're hearing it, and it's the most fascinating thing you've ever heard.
Well, lucky for you, I suffer from a condition called CRS. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
It's called can't remember anything. And
Oh!
so what you said 2 days ago, I have no idea.
Oh, good.
Because,
Okay.
you know, getting older, concussions, poor diet, you know, you name the whole thing, and trauma.
So you're like Guy Pearce in Memento, just every 15 minutes, just your brain's like an Etch-a-Sketch, just clean slate, tabula rasa. Let's go.
Exactly. Cool. And it feels like people are shaking my head sometimes too. So it's all good. But before we get started, of course, today's episode is going to be all about bioluminescence, and we're going to learn how creatures glow, why creatures glow, and what kind of creatures glow. We're doing a 2-parter on this one, possibly 3 if we wind up having a debate, which I will tease right now and talk about later in the show. But I wanted to give a shout out to, and this is one of the good things about having to redo an episode. I forgot to do things I meant to do before and that I forgot to do. Anyway, I want to give a shout out to Beanie Bun 8779 who listens on YouTube. They said, "It was my first episode and I'm loving it so far. Excited to learn something new and the banter is so much fun. LMFAO." So yeah, we have people who like us. Thank you, Beanie Bun. But yeah, don't be afraid to write comments and ask questions because we will answer them. And you know, we're not afraid to put comments on the channel, good or bad. Like if it's bad and funny, I'm fine with that. Just not, you know, anything outright offensive. But yeah, to the topic at hand, bioluminescence. So Dr. Lauren, I'm going to turn it over to you and ask you, what is bioluminescence? Why do things glow? And what makes bioluminescence so freaking rad?
Well, bioluminescence is just any living thing that produces light. So, fireflies are probably the first thing that comes to mind when you think of a living thing that produces light. So, fireflies produce light through a chemical reaction. That's an example of bioluminescence. There are jellyfish, comb jellies, corals, fungi. There are bacteria that bioluminesce. So it's just a really cool biological process by which living things produce light. And what's really interesting about it to me is that it's not something that evolved once and then everything that has that capability evolved from that one living thing that first developed bioluminescence. There's no common ancestor for bioluminescence. It's something that developed multiple times throughout the history of life on Earth and in multiple groups of organisms.
So it wasn't like the primordial soup sitting there, and then next thing you know, something's like, "Hey, I want to throw a rave," and it just kind of lights everything up around it. It just kind of it showed up at different times throughout history too. I assume it wasn't just like at one time everybody's like, "Hey, we're going to glow up right now," but
Right.
rather just showed up.
Right.
Okay.
So it appeared in jellyfish at one point. It appeared in insects at one point. It appeared in fungi at one point. And these are all like separate evolutionary events, just like eyes evolved in animals at multiple points. There was no one animal that developed an eye and then everything with eyes evolved from that animal.
So crazy question. Do we know what was first?
That's a question. My guess would be bacteria because they're the most ancient. They've been around the longest. I don't know exactly how long ago bioluminescent bacteria appeared in the evolutionary record, but since bacteria have been around for at least 3.5 billion years, and multicellular life didn't really appear until I want to say around 800 million years ago or zero point 0.8 billion years ago. That's like a gap of almost 3 billion years of bacteria and then single-celled protists kind of doing their thing and developing cool evolutionary tricks before all the multicellular stuff came along and then figured out how to do their thing.
Okay, so yeah, I agree. It would be fair to say that bacteria was the OG. They had to turn the lights on for everybody else.
Well, bacteria, I'm going to get on my microbiological high horse for just a second. Pretty much everything in evolution, if it's developed in bacteria and in other stuff, bacteria were the OG. They almost always did it first.
Okay.
They did photosynthesis first. They did aerobic respiration first. They did bioluminescence first. Pretty much every like basic biochemical reaction that runs a cell, bacteria did it first. So yeah, bacteria are really the OGs.
So it's like that episode of South Park where they're like, Simpsons did it, Simpsons did it.
Yes, exactly.
Bacteria did it, bacteria did it.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So we had then I guess we had it show up throughout history, evolutionary points at different times. Everybody kind of decided when they wanted to bioluminescate. And so that's a pretty good background. I mean, that's pretty easy to understand there. I guess the next question is how?
Sure. So, first of all, I want to talk a little bit about what light is, like how it works. Because I think that makes it easier to understand how creating light works. With the huge caveat here that, put on a little disclaimer. I am not a physicist. So, I'm probably way oversimplifying everything. So if you're a physicist and you're listening to our show and you want to come on our show and tell people all about how light works and you think you can do it better than me, because you probably can, you are more than welcome to do that because I'm not a physicist. I'm a biologist. So I'm going to be way, 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 way oversimplifying how this works.
Yeah, I can't wait until we get guests on to talk about like a whole array of stuff. Like that's going to be awesome.
Oh my goodness, yeah. When we get really big and we can start inviting on other scientists, I'm looking forward to that because then that takes a little bit of pressure off of me.
Yeah, we can get like Mr. Wizard on.
Oh yeah.
Wait.
Ooh.
Oh no, he's dead, isn't he?
Oh, well, what about Bill Nye?
We could get Bill Nye on. I'll have our people call his people, and
Yeah.
I'll tag him in this episode and see if he'll pop. He seems like a pretty cool guy. He
He
just
does.
turned 70, I think. I saw. So
Wow.
it'd
Yeah,
be
well,
like a nice birthday present.
yeah, and he's been doing this stuff for a while now. He's a pretty good science communicator.
Yeah. All right, Bill Nye, you have an open spot on our show. We will immediately drop anything and accommodate you. So
Come on, talk to us.
yep.
So
Okay,
light.
so light. How does light work?
Okay, so light is weird because everything in the universe, right, is made up of matter. Matter has mass, it takes up space, right? So everything that we see is made up of stuff. Light is not matter. It doesn't have mass, it doesn't take up space. It's a form of energy, and it behaves in two very distinct ways at the same time. So, light travels in waves, just like sound travels in waves. So, it has peaks and valleys. It goes up and down like a wave. And the distance between two waves is called the wavelength. And how many of those waves pass by at a given moment is called the frequency. So, a shorter wavelength, waves that are closer together, has a higher frequency. More waves pass by in a given moment because they're closer together. So, light exists on a spectrum. The light that people can see is between 380 and 780 nanometers in wavelength. So, two waves are between 380 and 780 nanometers apart. Nanometer is 1/1000th of a meter.
Okay.
So, all of the light that we can see has wavelengths in that range. Anything that has wavelengths longer than that is lower frequency light. And so that includes things like infrared light. So if you're familiar with like infrared goggles or an infrared camera that can see heat coming off of like a living body, that's light in the infrared range. So your eyes can't pick it up, but an infrared camera can.
Right.
Lower than that is stuff like microwaves or radio signals. So those are also made up of light. It's just a wavelength that is really low frequency, really, really long wavelengths, and so we can't see them. And they're harmless. Above the visible range, you have things like ultraviolet light, which is the light from the sun that gives you a sunburn and can cause skin cancer. And you have things like X-rays, gamma radiation, stuff that's such a high frequency that it actually can harm you.
Like the Incredible Hulk.
Yes. So, infrared light is below the red end of the visible spectrum. Ultraviolet light is above the violet end of the visible spectrum. Like if you in school ever like took a prism and held it up to a light and it split into all the colors of the rainbow. If you've ever seen a rainbow, what a rainbow is just sunlight passing through drops of water, and it splits the light into all of the different colors that make up visible light. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, like the Miss Rachel song.
Yeah.
So, that's all the visible light. So, when we're talking about bioluminescence, we're usually talking about emitting light at a particular wavelength. And that light is produced by a chemical reaction. So, the other property that light has is that it also acts like a particle. So it acts like a wave, but it also acts like a particle. It exists in like measurable packets of energy called photons. So when you shoot a beam of light at something, it acts like a wave, but it's also like you're firing these little particles of energy at something. In fact, if you fire energy particles of light at a sheet of metal, electrons start bouncing off of the metal. They're ejected from the metal. This is called the photoelectric effect, and it's what Einstein won the Nobel Prize for.
Okay.
So, we have this wave-like property, and this particle-like property. The light that we see, visible light, if you see all of the colors at once, appears as white light. When you perceive color, it's because certain portions of the visible light spectrum, certain parts of the rainbow, are being absorbed by that object, and it's reflecting back the other colors at you. So if you're looking at an object that's green, all of the colors in the rainbow are absorbed by that object except green. Green is being reflected back at your eyes, and so you're perceiving that object as green.
Okay, so then, like, all right, so every light we see is white. It's just our brain interpreting how it bounces off the object.
Right, right. So visible
Okay.
light as a whole is white. We perceive colors as how objects interact with that light. So light can bounce off of something, reflect back at our eyes, and then we see that object. It can be absorbed by that object. So if an object appears black, that means it's absorbing all of the different colors of the rainbow. Light can also be bent, which is how lenses work to make objects look larger or smaller. It's by bending light. It's called refraction. All of the colors that we see are portions of the visible light spectrum being reflected back at our eyes. And fun fact,
Okay.
The color magenta, which is a mixture of red and purple appear at opposite ends of the rainbow, right? There's red at one end, and then it goes through orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, all the way to the other end of the rainbow. So the mixture of red and purple doesn't exist in the visible light spectrum. It's just our brain filling in where it thinks a color should exist.
Interesting. Okay. So our brain has the ability to make up colors that aren't there.
Yeah. So our brain perceives things that are red, violet, or magenta because it thinks there should be a mixture between red and violet, but there actually isn't one in the visible light spectrum. So I think this is pretty cool because there was that movie that came out a couple years ago with Nick Cage that was The Color Out of Space, which was a terrible adaptation of one of my favorite Lovecraft stories. And it was a really bad adaptation because it like totally missed the mark of the story. But the idea behind the story is that a meteor crashes onto a rural farm and the meteor contaminates the water and the soil, and eventually the plants start displaying all of these weird mutations. The animals start getting tumors and appearing really like sickly and cancerous. And eventually the people who live on the farm start going crazy because it's a Lovecraft story. So of course everyone has to go insane. But the color out of space is the color given off by this meteorite after it crashes. And the one cool choice that the movie makers made when they were making this movie is they decided to show this color emanating from the meteorite and from the things contaminated by the meteorite as this really weird, glowy, purplish pink. So it's a color that doesn't actually exist in reality, but that your brain kind of fills in the gaps.
Huh.
So yeah, it's the same because it's one of my favorite Lovecraft stories, and when I teach astrobiology, I actually have my students read it because it's a really cool way to talk about things like planetary protection and what might happen if we encounter some kind of life form that we've never encountered before that's not compatible with our own or is pathogenic somehow. It's a really fun and interesting story, but this adaptation was not very good. And I have to hand it to Nick Cage because he absolutely does not ever phone anything in, no matter how stupid it is. Like, I really respect him.
No, he doesn't.
I really respect him for that. But God, this is not good. It's not good. If you want to see him in a really trippy kind of like weird liminal space, like psychedelic sort of movie, Mandy is the better choice over Color Out of Space, for sure.
One of the first movies I saw him in was Face Off. And if you look at Face Off on paper, it is so incredibly stupid. The premise is the dumbest thing ever. But like, him and Travolta sold it so well, and it's awesome.
They really did. And the thing is, like, I watched it I guess it was a few years back now. My friends were like, "Oh, you've never seen Face Off? We got to watch Face Off." So
yeah.
We sat down and we watched it, and the whole time I was thinking, this is so stupid, but I have to find out how this gets resolved.
Yep.
I just had
So
to
good.
know. Even though it was so incredibly dumb, I was so I was like drawn in. It was so weird. But
Last
no,
thing on Nick Cage before we move on too, because I saw him in Renfield a couple weeks ago,
oh
and
yeah,
now
I
I
saw
want a movie where Nick Cage plays Dracula. Like I want that so bad.
the thing is like I said, I really really like him as an actor. I feel like every movie he's in is either like the most amazing thing or it's the most stupid thing I've ever seen. And there's very little in between. But
That's fair.
I really got to hand it to the guy. He never, ever, ever phones anything in. He gives 150% every single time. Hats off to you, Nick Cage. Also, when he was younger, like I just watched Valley Girl for the first time, like about a week ago, and that's from like 1983, and he's like a heartthrob in that movie, right? He's the young punk love interest of this Valley Girl, and the first time you see him in the movie, he's like coming up out of the ocean, and he's just wearing swim trunks, and he's all like cut and cute, and all these girls are sitting on the beach going, "Oh, he's hot," you know, and I'm just like mesmerized. I'm like, wow, young punk Nick Cage can get it. Like I'm like fanning myself a little bit now. I'm like, I have a type,
I
but
I really wish we got that Superman film, but anyway, so I guess you would say like if Nick Cage doesn't need to bioluminesce to attract you.
no, he doesn't.
See how I brought it back? That's how you do
He's
it.
bringing it back around. Yeah, so light has these two properties. It acts like a wave. So we're going to be talking about different wavelengths as we talk about bioluminescence, but we're also going to be talking about the particles of light, how light is released as these little packets of energy called photons. So something that's really interesting about how light is generated is basically light, as I said, is a form of energy. So you can generate light, for example, through nuclear reactions, which is basically what's happening inside of stars. So stars are like these giant nuclear reactors in space, and they're releasing light and heat as energy from these nuclear reactions. And also producing every element on the periodic table in the process. So these huge balls of mostly hydrogen and helium, and all these nuclear reactions are producing every other element that exists in the universe. And that's why when Carl Sagan said we are made of star stuff, he meant that literally. It's because all the elements that make us up begin their life inside of stars, which is very, very cool. So
And I
that's
know
one way
stuff about the sun.
Yes.
I can actually, yes, the sun. Okay, ready for this? I'm going to drop knowledge. Okay.
Oh boy.
The
Okay.
sun is a mass of incandescent gas, right? It's a
Yep.
gigantic nuclear furnace where
Mm-hmm.
hydrogen is built into helium at a temperature of millions of degrees.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
See, I know. I know some science stuff.
Cool little
Write in the
shout out.
comments if you know that song.
Yeah. Um, so another way that you can generate light is by making electrons get excited. So this is where we get a little
Okay.
spicy. So electrons are the part of an atom that revolves around the nucleus. So imagine like the generic drawing of an atom where you've got a nucleus at the center and all of these electrons are whizzing around the nucleus. And the electrons exist in these energy states. If you get an electron excited, it goes up to a higher energy state. When it comes down from that higher energy state, it releases energy as light. And depending on what element you're talking about, it can release light in different colors, which is how we get fireworks. So, like green fireworks and blue fireworks and red fireworks are all made by burning different metals that, when their electrons get excited, they release light at different wavelengths, and that produces the different colors that you see in the fireworks.
Okay, so the electrons get rizzed up,
Yep.
and once whoever's rizzing them up walk away, they feel good about themselves as they're calming down, so they emit a glow.
Yes.
Okay, so who's doing the rizzing?
So
Don't
in the
at me
case,
if I use that wrong, kids.
no, we're millennials. Have pity on us. We don't know all these newfangled terms. I don't know what 6'7" means. I don't think I want to.
Nobody does.
Nobody knows. Anyway, so in the case of bioluminescence, so like with fireworks, right? You're literally exciting the electrons by heating up the metal, and you could even do this in a chemistry lab. Like you can take that metal and hold it over a flame, and it starts emitting colors because you're adding energy to that atom, getting those electrons excited with the energy from that flame, and then when they come back down, they release light in some particular color. So, in biology, energy comes from chemical reactions. So, there's basically two main things that produce light in living things. And like I said, these have evolved multiple times, so we use kind of the same terms for them. But the way that this works in, say, a firefly is not the exact same way that it works in a jellyfish or a coral or a fungus. So keep in mind that like this is just kind of like the basic outline of how this works.
Okay.
So you've got two substances. You have this stuff called luciferin, and you have an enzyme, so that's a protein that carries out a chemical reaction called luciferase. And they're called this.
So ACE is the protein.
Yes. ACE is the enzyme.
Luciferin is the. ACE is the enzyme. Luciferin is the what?
It's the stuff that the enzyme reacts with.
Okay, so it's just like a glob of luciferin.
Yeah, it's a chemical.
Okay.
Right.
Got it.
So we call it luciferin and luciferase because it's named after Lucifer, the light bringer. So he was a Roman god, and his name means bringer of light. You may know him as the devil. That was a thing that happened later on in Christian theology, but originally he was a Roman god of light. He was the morning star, the first star I see tonight. That's Lucifer. So, luciferin, luciferase. So, luciferase acts on luciferin, gets its electrons excited, and then those electrons, when they come back down from being excited, release light.
You there?
Yeah, still here.
Oh, sorry, my earbuds like randomly disconnected.
Oh, okay. Should I say that again?
Yes, please.
Okay. So, luciferase reacts with luciferin, puts energy into it to excite its electrons. So, energy usually in the form of ATP, right? Because ATP is the energy currency of the cell. Cells store all their energy in ATP. So, it takes some energy from ATP, puts it into luciferin to get its electrons all hot and bothered, and then when they calm down, they release that little glow, and that's your bioluminescence.
Okay, so luciferase is doing the rizzing.
Yes, luciferase is doing the rizzing. Luciferase
and you
is
said
Nick Cage, and I am the luciferin.
So, and luciferase got the information from ATP, or is the ATP like the words they use to?
ATP is the energy storage mechanism, right? So ATP is the molecule that we store energy in. So we take some energy from ATP and put it into the luciferin to, get it all excited.
Okay, so the ATP would be like, hey man, you're looking really good, or you're so cool, or oh my god, you play guitar so well, I love you so very much, which has never been uttered to me once in my life. But
I don't think that's true. I think that's a bald-faced lie.
Well, all right, I respect your opinion.
But yeah, so
so we got the luciferase rizzing up the luciferin with ATP. Okay.
Yes. So it's putting a little bit of energy into luciferin, and usually what happens is the luciferin kind of turns into this like unstable high energy intermediate. It's like all jazzed up now. And then as it calms down into a lower energy state, it releases that extra energy as light.
Okay, so he's like, holy crap, this really cute girl's talking to me and saying nice things about me, da 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 da. And he gets her phone number and she walks away. He's like, man, I'm feeling really good about things. I'm gonna glow.
Yep. Yep. He's gonna
Okay,
give off that blue
perfect.
glow.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So depending on the structure of the luciferin, because like I said, it's different in different living things. It gives off a different color. So in fireflies, it's like that yellowish green color, and in jellyfish and corals, it gives off like a blue kind of color. There are those fungi that glow in the dark. They give off a different color. So it all depends on the structure of the luciferin, what color is released when it comes down from that excited state.
Okay, and there's nothing that drives that. Just luciferin says I'm this color.
Yeah, it just depends on the structure of the luciferin molecule, whatever that happens
Chemical
to be.
makeup.
Yeah, the chemical
Okay,
makeup.
cool. Right.
So what's really interesting is that like some living things, like bacteria, for example, make their own luciferin, and then they have their luciferase enzyme that reacts with the luciferin to make the glow. But in jellyfish and corals, the luciferin is something that they get from their diet. So they actually have to eat it. Then they get it from eating things like crustaceans or copepods, which are like these, they're basically like little microscopic sea bugs. They also glow, so they produce their own luciferin. So jellyfish eating those animals get the luciferin from their diet, and then that's how they have the ability to glow. So if they don't get any luciferin in their diet, they can't glow.
It's like a flamingo eating shellfish and being pink because of what's in the shellfish.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so it's like absorbing the power of the stuff it eats that glows.
Yeah, basically.
Don't try that. Don't try eating glowing stuff at home, kids, because that's not
Don't
how it
try
works in
that at
humans.
home necessarily, because I don't think it'll work out for you the way that it works out.
Don't go eating glow sticks hoping for the best.
No, it's not going to go well for you.
Nope.
So I mentioned that there's one other really famous way for this to work. So in jellyfish and in corals, in addition to having luciferin and luciferase, they have another protein, and it's called green fluorescent protein. It's
Okay.
GFP for short, green fluorescent protein. GFP was first discovered in a jellyfish that lives in the Pacific Ocean, I think off the coast of Washington State. It's called Aquaria victoria, and it naturally glows. Now, I mentioned that in jellyfish, when luciferase gets luciferin excited, the luciferin releases a blue light. But this jellyfish doesn't glow blue, it glows green, because it has this green fluorescent protein. And the reason is because this green fluorescent protein has this kind of barrel shape. It almost looks like a little lantern, which is super cool. So it's got like this cylindrical shape. And then at the center of the cylinder is something called a chromophore. So that chromophore absorbs the light that's released by the luciferin when it's coming down from being excited. So it absorbs that blue light, and then it emits light at a different wavelength, which is green.
Okay.
So the jellyfish, for whatever reason, has this two-step process for glowing. Instead of just glowing blue, it also produces this green fluorescent protein that absorbs the blue light and emits it at a different wavelength.
Interesting.
So now it glows green. Yeah. Why that is, I'm not entirely sure. Like, I don't know why you couldn't just. I don't know why jellyfish.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question.
It's a little extra, I admit.
Yeah.
But yeah. So GFP is really interesting because it's a single protein encoded for by a single gene. It doesn't need any help folding into that special shape that can absorb light and then emit it at a different wavelength. So if you have the gene for this protein and you introduce it into an animal or into bacteria, that animal or those bacteria will produce the GFP protein. And then if you shine them with light at a particular wavelength, the right wavelength, they'll glow green.
I remember hearing a couple years ago about like glowing mice. Is that kind
Mhm.
of this or
Yep.
interesting? Okay.
So yeah, the GFP gene has been introduced into mice. It's been introduced into pigs. It's been introduced into plants, I think, as like a signal for stress. So when the plant's stressed out, it starts making the GFP, so it glows to let you know, like, hey, I'm dehydrated or whatever.
Oh, that's
Um,
cool.
yeah, and it's if you've ever been in like a PetSmart or a Petco and you've seen those little fish that glow different colors, they've had the
Yeah, yeah.
GFP gene inserted in them. Yeah.
That's so cool.
So
Like I always thought that was a dye they put in there, just
no,
kind of
they're
along the
actually
spinal column.
making
But
they're actually making a bioluminescent protein that absorbs UV light and then it uh, reflects or emits. Um, it can be green, like the original GFP, but there's also engineered versions of GFP in all the other colors of the rainbow. So there's like a purple version and a red version and a blue version and a yellow one. And that's why you can get these glow in the dark fish in all these different colors because they just have engineered GFP in them.
yeah, I had a few of those little buggers over the course of my life. They're so cool. I love them.
Yeah. So they are transgenic fish.
Nice.
Not transgender fish. That's a separate thing. They are transgenic fish. But
Fair
there are
enough.
transgender fish. There are transgender
I was
fish.
gonna say they could be transgenic and transgender.
We don't know for sure. But yeah, there are definitely fish that will change sex depending on you know, basically biological pressures. Like are there enough males in the population or are there enough females? They'll change their sex as needs dictate.
Yeah, we also learned that with frogs, and
Jurassic
we
Park.
learned why we shouldn't use it. Yeah, we learned why we shouldn't use those frogs to clone dinosaurs.
Yeah.
It's amazing how that sort of thing is just generally accepted as normal among the animal kingdom, isn't it? Gee.
Yeah. Funny how that works for reptiles and fish and countless other examples of or like fungi that have like 10,000 different genders. Um
Yeah.
but human beings, however, no.
Yeah,
You,
isn't that
it
weird?
is kind of funny how we could have a whole episode on how sex is not binary but bimodal and what the difference between those two things is. But that's
Oh
probably a
yeah.
whole conversation.
That's gonna
Uh,
be a very long conversation.
oh boy, yeah, for sure.
It'll
The
probably
long
make a
story
lot of
short,
people mad, but that's okay.
if you're listening and you're already like, I wonder if this show is going to come out anti-trans. Spoiler alert: no, we won't.
Nope.
No, we
We
won't.
love everybody.
Yeah. And it is a biological fact that sex is not binary. You learned that sex is all about XX and XY chromosomes in fifth grade because you were in fifth grade, and that was the simplest way to explain it to you, not because the buck stops there. So, sorry. Yes, the whole there's males and there's females is basic biology. The keyword being basic biology, not upper level advanced actual biology. So yeah, this show's pro trans. If you don't like it, get out.
Yep. And we've given you a teaser episode for one of our later or teaser for one of our later episodes.
It'll happen for sure.
Oh, it will. Yeah. Anyway, back
Yeah,
to glowing things.
glowing things. Yeah. So yeah, that's basically the gist of it. You have this chemical luciferin. Um, it has a different name in different things depending on what we're talking about. Like luciferin is like the general term, but like for example, in jellyfish and corals, we call it coelenterosine because we used to say that jellyfish and corals belong to this group called the coelenterates. That's an old-fashioned term that we don't use anymore because we've updated the phylogenetic tree, but we still call it coelenterosine, and that's the special thing that they have to get in their diet to be able to glow. But then on top of that, they also make this green fluorescent protein, which is really cool because you can use it to make fish in your aquarium glow. It's also got a ton of biotechnological applications, which we're going to talk about in the next episode. So next time, I want to talk about a couple of different specific examples of things that glow and why. So, we'll go over some of the standbys, the old favorites like fireflies and jellyfish and so forth. We'll talk about glowing fungi. We'll talk about glowing bacteria and how we used glowing bacteria to figure out the bacteria talk to each other. That's going to be a fun conversation.
That's crazy.
Wink, wink. Yes, bacteria talk,
Yeah.
and they talk to each other in order to coordinate activities, like glowing. So we're going to talk about how that works as well.
Oh, yeah. I was kind of worried that bacteria was making fun of me.
Well, so
like,
I do have some bad news about that.
Yeah.
So there are single-celled organisms that live in the ocean called dinoflagellates. Actually, there's a bioluminescent dinoflagellate. So you've probably heard of like sea sparkle. You ever see the like pictures of where people put their hand in the water and there's all this like amazing blue shimmery stuff? That's a dinoflagellate called sea sparkle. Noctiluca scintillans is the scientific name for it. But there's another dinoflagellate, another single-celled algae that has a functioning eye. It's watching you while you swim.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Well, it's actually
I'm never going in the ocean again.
It's only just detecting light and dark. It's not like a very advanced eye, but the fact that there's a single-celled organism that has a functioning eye is, I think, in itself reason to be concerned, if nothing else.
Yeah, that's a little on the odd side. Well, I mean, I hope I'm not blinding it with my untanned skin.
Yeah,
but like,
if you go to what's the name of that? Gunnison Beach in Sandy Hook, which is a clothing option.
They got a lot more problems. Yeah.
Yeah. You're giving the algae a little show.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm just having my heart broken left and right. Next thing you're gonna tell me is that tardigrades silently judge me. Like,
I mean, for all
I can only
know,
handle so much.
For all I know, they
Only
do.
handle
I
so
mean,
much.
you know, how do we know that tardigrades aren't like hanging out in your grass, going, these dummies? You know, they can't even withstand like space radiation.
They talk about dying in a nuclear explosion. We don't have that problem.
We don't have to worry about that.
You can't kill us. I just can't take it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to break your heart this episode.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Just like you did 20 years ago. No, kidding. Call back to the beginning of the episode.
These good people, all 10 of them.
It's fine. Hey, you know what though? On those 10 people we have listening to us regularly, they are part of the beginning. They are part of a tiny group to get this launched. So you guys are the original Lauren and PJ Do Science hipsters. We need to come up with a name for our fans. I don't know. We got to cook one up.
If you have
any suggestions, put it in the comment.
Put them in the comments. Tell us what you would like to be called as our original fans. Please.
Yeah. Like the Petri dishes or something. No, I don't know. I have to mull that one over. Anyway, we're getting off topic again because we tend to do that.
It's like two people with ADHD who tried to make a podcast.
For real. So yeah, back to glowing things.
Yeah. So I mean that is most of the story. Again, super simplified, but it's all about getting electrons excited. And then when they come back down from being excited, they release photons. And those photons also have a particular wavelength, which tells you what color the light is going to be.
Okay, so I will attempt to recap in my own way. All right, you have luciferin and luciferase. Luciferin is just like this chemical, right?
Mm-hmm.
The luciferase goes over to this chemical, rizzes it up a little bit. The words and whatever it's using to rizz up the chemical is ATP.
Mm-hmm. Energy.
Then the luciferin gets all excited, starts like vibrating, whatever it does, goes crazy with excitement. And as it calms down, it emits the light, emits these photons, and basically what determines the colors again, did you say?
The chemical structure of the luciferin determines what wavelength the light is at, and that's what gives you the different colors. So whether it's blue or green or whatever.
So it basically glows whatever color the luciferin is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool.
Yep.
And then this goes into the different bioluminescence things. And as I do know this part, they use it for like camouflage, attracting food, attracting mates, and all sorts of other different uses. And does that
Yeah.
about that right?
That
Did I
about sums
pass?
it up. And then
Sweet.
in jellyfish and corals, you
Cool.
have this extra protein that absorbs the light from that first
Oh yeah,
reaction
yeah.
and then emits it at a different color for some reason.
Yes. And yeah, because they have to eat the proteins as part of their diet to be able to glow.
Well, they make the protein, but they have to get the luciferin as part of their
Oh
diet.
yeah. Okay,
That's
so
why
they absorb power to glow.
Right. That's why GFP is so useful in biotech because it's just one protein. So if you give that gene for that protein to an organism, you put it in their genome or whatever, they'll express that gene, they'll make that protein, and then they'll just glow with nothing extra required. They will just glow if
Okay,
you
cool.
shine a light on them, which is very cool. In the case of luciferase and luciferin, you have an enzyme that has to be made, the luciferase, and then you have to have the luciferin, and there has to be a chemical reaction between the two of them, and it requires an input of energy, and it's more complicated. So GFP is a really easy way to make a biological thing that glows.
Okay, cool. I think I understand. So I'm,
Yay!
as you know, I'm gonna start writing a song based on what I've learned, and we'll have it premiered next week. But before we get into this week's playlist or this episode's playlist, because as you may or may not know,
Oh,
we
yes.
think of songs related to the topic and put
Mhm.
together a playlist. I thought of a interesting question for you, and I don't want your answer. I want you to sit there and think about it, and we can debate next episode because that's all going to be about the different kinds of critters who bioluminate and why they do that.
Mhm.
Are you familiar with the Fantastic Four?
Yes.
Okay. Johnny Storm, right? The Human Torch.
Yeah.
Is he bioluminescent or is he not? Because we all know he got his space powers by, they went into space, the ship got bombarded by cosmic rays. We know how he works. He engulfs his body in flames and stuff. But could we consider him a bioluminescent creature or not? And again, I don't want your answer. I just want you to think about this if he counts or not.
I'm going to give that some serious scientific consideration.
Okay, because I mean, you got to consider a couple things because it's not just making the luciferin naturally. You can consume it from an outside source. So,
Right.
I'm going to think more about it too because I was thinking about it while you were talking. But I think we should engage in a not necessarily debate, but like a conversation next week about whether the Human Torch is bioluminescent or not. And I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to save my opinion for the next episode as well. And I hope you do the same. And in the comments below, if you want to join in our conversation as well about this topic, let us know.
Yeah. So do you wanna tell the good folks what we have put on the playlist so far?
Yes. Well, you give your songs first because you picked a couple. I
Yeah.
have them pulled up if you don't have them.
I have to
handy.
remember what they were. So I know the glowworm song from the 50s. I can't remember the
Yep.
name of the band. Who was
The
it that
Mills
originally
Brothers.
The Niels Brothers, yes.
Yep.
What else did I have? You Light Up My Life.
Yeah, Debbie Boone.
Debbie Boone.
Debbie Boone.
And shoot, what was the other one I had?
You Shine by Tim Halperin.
Shoot You Shine by Tim Halpern. Yeah, I was just trying to think of every song that talks about shining or glowing or lights or whatever. So what did you have?
Well, you also had Glow by Rick James. Rick
Oh yeah,
James.
how could I forget Rick James? Oh my god, yeah.
All right, I had some pretty good ones. I mean, yours are good. I had a couple of interesting ones. I have Over at the Frankenstein Place.
Oh,
Rocky
there's a
Horror.
lot. Yeah.
Yep. We'll go obvious with this one. Fireflies by Owl City.
Oh, of course.
I'm gonna go kind of moody here with some Smiths. There is a light that never goes out.
Oh, Morrissey.
Yep. And I'm gonna go with a name that, as far as many of you probably know, think they only have one song ever, but I'm gonna go with Mr. Big with Shine. which was, for you anime nerds, the ending credits for the original series run of Hellsing.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know what else I considered? Shine On You Crazy Diamond by Pink Floyd.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a very
I was
good
trying to think of ones where the light is about attracting, or
Yeah.
there's some sort of attraction in there with the light.
Right. That's kind of where I was sort of going, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. That just seemed like an obvious choice. Yeah. Little homage to
Yeah,
Sid
so we'll
Barrett.
have those on the playlist,
Yeah.
which you'll be able to find on Spotify, and I'll add them as I'm editing the show and release it, which is today. Pulling the curtain back a little bit. Usually we record a couple days before the release, but well, if you listen at the top of the show, you know what happened. My faux pas. I still owe you an apology video. But you know what? I think we did better this time around. I think this one was better than the original take. So we had some practice at it, ran it back, and we're good.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I still got to talk about all of the things that I wanted to talk about. I feel like I did a pretty good job of explaining it, if I do say so myself. Toot my own horn a little bit.
Yeah, you covered it thoroughly.
A little here, yeah.
Yep. So upcoming cool things, as always, of course, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends about it, grow our little community. We have 10 listeners, which is pretty awesome.
Hi guys.
Maybe 12, up to 12 at this point. Hi listeners.
In between. Hello listeners.
Yeah, so you guys are awesome for joining us in this journey, but of course we need to grow this thing bigger, and we're going to start working on social media stuff. I have an idea where I do a experiment and possibly, make a huge mess, and Lauren can explain why it works.
Yay.
So yeah, check it. We're going to get social media stuff going. We're going to get hopefully a website one of these days. So a lot of things on going down the line, but of course we can't do any of this without you guys. So, love you all. And again, subscribe.
Yeah.
Please and thank you. Please. But yeah, I think that's going to do it. So tune in 2 weeks' time for the show where we talk about all the critters that bioluminesce, that glow, and I'll have this song that I wrote in next week's episode as well. So that's going to do it. Thank you all guys again. I hope you all enjoyed it, and we will see you next time.
See ya.
Say goodnight, Lauren.
Good night, Lauren.